I dream and the world trembles.
Hey guys, it's Lon Measley again. First, I'd like to congratulate the winner of the last giveaway, William Delashmut. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And I'm crowning him as the winner because he basically predicted both the Warcraft 3 remaster and the announcement of a new mobile game. So congratulations again, William, and I will be DMing you shortly. And now let's get back to discussing Blizzcon. We now know that patch 8.1 is coming on December 11th, and a lot of new details have been revealed regarding patch 8.1.5 and patch 8.2. It feels like we're actually moving past beta for Azeroth and into the bulk of the expansion. Some of these new features obviously include the new allied races, the Zandalari trolls, and the Kultiran humans that are coming with 8.1.5. I just want to quickly shout out the City of Gold ratio for Zandalari trolls, as I'm definitely very curious as to how much gold you can actually make with that ratio. And aside from that, we also got the announcement of Azshara's Eternal Palace, which is the new raid in patch 8.2. Now obviously these are all extremely noteworthy additions to the game, but for the rest of this video, I'm gonna be counting down my personal top 6 for what new features to look forward to in both patch 8.1.5 and patch 8.2. Now let's get started. First, at number 6 is Flying in Kultiras and Zandalar. It is going to be unlockable via completing the Pathfinder achievements Part 1 and Part 2, and you'll obviously want to start working towards them or even complete them before patch 8.2. I'm excited about this because not only will I be able to saddle up on some of my old favorite mounts, I also think this will be extremely helpful, especially for navigating around the opposing faction's continent. So many times have I been turned off from doing world quests on the enemy's continent because it's so inconvenient to travel around. On top of that, flying should also help with the incursions that are coming in patch 8.1, especially for getting your ults up to speed. Lastly, hopefully this will come in conjunction with some improvements to war mode, such as increased airdrops or other increased rewards for PvP. Next, at number 5, I'm also looking forward to the new profession changes. This especially piqued my interest because I focus quite a bit on gold making. Anyway, the current announcement is pretty much that every profession, or at least crafting profession, will get a quest line that'll allow them to unlock an epic item, which should, in most cases, not only unlock new crafts, but also new gameplay options. The Khazgorian Hammer had already been data mined before Battle for Azeroth came out, and is the reason I ranked blacksmithing so high before the expansion actually came out. But just reading the other professions' items descriptions, you can see that many of them involve interacting with certain objects out in the world. I really hope that these epic items, and perhaps other changes as well, will be able to revitalize crafting professions by giving them extra fantasy and depth, as well as new ways to make gold. At number 4, the next thing I'm excited about is Heroic Warfronts, slated for release in patch 8.2. Currently, they're stated to require a small group of players to join, give much better rewards, and also be much more difficult than your normal Warfront. Well, the funny thing is you can't really get easier than the current Arathi Highlands Warfront, as it's literally unlosable, but I do think if Blizzard manages to make it fun and challenging, that this is gonna potentially be a new groundbreaking form of PvE. Actually, they've also said that with patch 8.2.5 that they're gonna be releasing a new Arathi Basin Brawl versus purely AI opponents. The current AI that we see in Island Expeditions seem to be of the more primitive variety. But if they're able to nail and simulate more complex gameplay for these AI, then I can see Blizzard being able to come up with a lot more creative ways to design the game. Hopefully we'll see new improvements as early as the new Darkshore Warfront in patch 8.1. At number 3, something I'm personally very much looking forward to is how the story develops throughout the expansion. If you don't want to hear potential spoilers, I suggest you skip to the next part of the video using the timestamp in the description below. First, I really like how they're being more daring with player agency, as Horde players will be able to side with either Sylvanas or Saurfang in patch 8.1. It'll be very interesting to see how this actually divides the Horde, because unlike with Siege of Orgrimmar, it doesn't look like we're all just going to take arms against Sylvanas like we did to Garrosh. And on top of that, it's extremely unlikely that Blizzard's going to go with the same sort of narrative again. In fact, Blizzard has stated explicitly in an interview at BlizzCon that Sylvanas considers Garrosh an amateur when it comes to warfare and plans for the Horde. Even more interesting, perhaps, is that during the story section of their What's Next panel at BlizzCon, the team showed Sylvanas wielding Xal'atath, which in Legion was the Shadow Priest's artifact weapon, and it is basically an entity that serves the old gods. And this is supposed to happen in patch 8.2. But before that, however, in patch 8.1, we'll be able to play through a questline involving Xal'atath and the entity or entities that possess it. Aside from the faction war, patch 8.2 is finally going to bring us some developments to Queen Azshara. I believe the end of patch 8.2 could be the transition from battling for control over Azeroth to actually battling for the survival of our planet and Titan spirit, Azeroth. Blizzard seems to be holding a lot of interesting cards regarding what Azshara is and what her motives are. In another interview at BlizzCon, it has actually been implicated that the patch 8.2 name, Rise of Azshara, is actually more than her simply rising up and attempting to take control over Azeroth, in that the entire continent of Nazjatar, or even Ny'alotha, is being raised by Azshara. Anyhow, I'm hopeful and excited for Azshara not being just another one-dimensional warmongering villain. Counting down to number 2 of our list is the new zones that we'll be getting in patch 8.2. Of course, we will have Nazjatar as part of the main storyline, and apparently it'll be very different from Vazir, the underwater zone that we had in Cataclysm. While I personally very much enjoyed Vazir, many people didn't, but as for Nazjatar, apparently the zone will have both underwater and on land areas, and the devs have expressed that they will implement creative ways of traversing the zone, such as water slides. With the new zone, we'll obviously be getting new quests, new reputations, potentially new allied races, and Blizzard has emphasized that there will be replayable content. And by that, I really hope it is an improvement over the Broken Shore and Argus. And I wouldn't be surprised if it is, assuming they've learned their lessons from these zones. And that's not even all. In patch 8.2, we're getting not one, but 2 new zones, with the second one being Mechagon, a city of ancient mechanical gnomes. I'm thinking that this zone will bear more similarities to Suramar, sort of taking form as an immersive side questing area that allows Blizzard to experiment with more creative ideas such as the Suramar Wizard training scenario. In this zone, we'll also have a new mega dungeon with 8 bosses, likely filling the role of Karazhan in Legion. Now before we get to our number 1, I'd like to go over some honorable mentions. The first is, along with the new smart AI that Blizzard are developing for various PvE scenarios, the remastering of both the Arathi Basin and the Warsong Gulch battlegrounds. I think they look much better, and it's impressive how far we've come graphic-wise since vanilla. The second honorable mention is for the Brawlers Guild. Despite quite often being overlooked, the Brawlers Guild is quite fun and strategic in my opinion. With the new season, they're not just going to be revamping the bosses and rewards, but they're also going to be changing the entire system and adding new quests to it as well. Now, the number 1 thing that I'm looking forward to for the future of World of Warcraft is actually the release of WoW Classic. Yes, technically this isn't a new feature of an upcoming patch, but I actually find it even more noteworthy because we're actually getting it as part of our recurring WoW subscription. So considering that we don't have to pay anything extra for WoW Classic, so it's just like being able to play another game that is still at its core World of Warcraft that we don't even have to pay extra for. Having played vanilla quite extensively myself, I cannot wait for its release in summer 2019, and will definitely be covering it on my channel as well. Before I end off the video, I just want to announce that I've recently created a new Patreon page, and on it I post a lot of tips and clips before I release them on YouTube, and some of them I don't even disclose on YouTube. And with the amount of work that it takes to create a YouTube video, Patreon allows me to put out content more consistently for people who are interested. Now, if you don't have the extra money, do not feel compelled to donate to me, but if you do decide to support me, it would really help me out. And that is all I have for you today. Though there weren't that many major announcements with BlizzCon this year, I am still very much looking forward to what is to come, not just in World of Warcraft, but other games like Warcraft 3 Reforged as well. Anyway, if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon for more videos just like this. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.